My name is Bejay Mulenga. I am a duo entrepreneur. I run two companies. One company is called Super Academy and the other company is called Philly Studios. In both businesses, I work in connecting the best talent with corporates. I got involved in business age 12 in my local neighborhood. I used to put on local events for local musicians. We would hire the venue, we would make our own merch, sell our own tickets and put on a production. I then went on to run a franchise of tuck shops in secondary schools where I helped young teenagers run their own shop as a way to learn about business in a fast-tracked way. And I've built on many different businesses off the back of my first two enterprises. We're living in 2017, 2018 now, whenever you're watching this. And the one thing that technology has really enabled us to do is break the barriers it takes to start up. For me, technology has enabled me to speak to my teams and do projects internationally wherever I am in the world. So I might be in a conference in Rome or I might be in LA, but I can dial in and Skype with my colleagues in England or my colleagues somewhere else if they're doing a project overseas and be able to share documents that we need. Number two, if I'm working with new people that I don't know, but they require a deposit from me, I'm able to send money over to them via PayPal or other forms of payments that could be held as escrow. And if they don't deliver, I can kind of get my money back. That was something that used to be an issue back in the day where people would have to pay deposits and someone might not pay you back and you have to kind of fight for it. So technology has really created more ways to have communication 24/7 if you need to, more ways to kind of secure the documents and secure the payments you're making to people. And number three, enable you to find information faster than ever before. So I can make much more attuned decisions as and when I'm doing different projects. Even if I don't know about something, I can know about something quite quickly. I think financial technology is helping to move the conversation forward and move the access forward for certain demographics of society. I'm still yet to see the take up of the power of what fintech or what financial technology has to offer with the mass consumer, but we are starting to see it kind of creep over. So I remember a couple of years ago seeing Monzo, for example, and it's now become Mondo, and people who I never expected to talk to me about it and are talking to me about it, 3 years ago, or stuff such as Bitcoin, where the coin used to cost a lot less a couple of years ago, and I wish I bought a coin there, and I met a 15-year-old who made £100,000 on Bitcoin. But now you've got those terms and those kind of avenues coming to mass population. It is only a good thing. To answer the kind of narrative here regarding what has fintech done and what is it doing socially good for society, I believe it's breaking down the barriers of going to a traditional bank and having to wait 2 weeks to open a bank account. Is enabling to kind of pay people much more faster, know where your money's going. It's enabling you to not have the barriers that are set up by these traditional firms there when you're trying to operate as a human or as a business. So my knowledge of Bitcoin, I see it as a disruptor or potentially a past disruptor. I know that there are new firms and new currencies out there that people are looking at, from cryptocurrencies to blockchain, for example. I believe that essentially for me and for my peers, especially being age 21 currently, I find that the innovation is brought, and how I understand it, is the element of having another set of assets. So something that you can kind of essentially make purchases of, and it's not kind of falling on the weak pound or on other currencies when they're kind of falling over. With Brexit and with so much happening in society today, you need to have new forms of like securing and cementing your money. So that's a good thing. And for someone trying to understand it, I'd say to kind of go and have a good Google search. And there are a couple of kind of key sites where there's really big communities of people who are talking about the benefits of different types of currencies that exist out there. And just go with your gut. Like, you need to kind of take in various sources of information and come to your own decision. Don't be swayed by the first thing you see or by the most well-articulated thing you see. See what the public are kind of agreeing with and make your own validated opinion. Because I believe all of these industries are fairly new to pop culture. I know that some of them have been in development for many, many years, potentially decades, or the idea has been in the background for quite a long time, but the actual conversation and the actual research that people have got available to them has really come to the light over the last couple of years. So I understand that it's still a new industry, and once you read it, don't just say, oh, that's it. You need to go and look in, because the world is changing, and ultimately there's populations growing so much faster in Africa or in Asia who are not just dependent on your sterling pound or your dollars, and you're going to want to do business with them in 10, 20, 30 years as we become more accessible to different markets when language doesn't become such a barrier. So in my perspective, I'm seeing some of the critiques not enjoying the fact that it's ungoverned and that they can't put their finger on it and they can't govern it, and it's that element of it being all totally digital and the risk attached with that. I think that's the crux of the issues they have, which are fair issues in my opinion. And I suppose those who are very, very pro or extremely pro, their kind of main argument is the current system is not fluid enough to be adapt to the innovations that are happening in society, and they're not adapt to really aid those people in need and that don't have access to the traditional systems. So in certain parts of the world, even in Britain alone, there are stats that come out where some people don't even do business with a traditional bank account or the traditional currency. A lot of it is cash on hand, and these things that we have on us, these mobile phones, they are game changers. And using digital currencies for me and people, so Bitcoin and other terms such as those are definitely game changers because they level the playing field. So as a young person who's running my business and traveling a lot, the part that excites me a lot is still going to some of these capital cities such as Berlin, LA, New York, but then also some of the kind of upcoming places such as Lisbon and Rio, for two reasons. One is you do want to kind of make capital the big corporates who do exist in these big mega cities of New York, LA and Amsterdam and Berlin. But then these rising cities, like for example Lisbon, is like you can find a whole host of tech talent there. And places like Rio, is one of the, as they say, the BRIC nations, which you can see the merits there of doing business with a kind of thriving economy. I think some of these nations are actually not developed as fast as they were developing a couple of years ago, but nevertheless, there is a lot of uncertainty here in Britain and in Europe, so you need to do business global anytime. I haven't delved too much into Asia or Africa yet to kind of make my step there, but I'm sure there's opportunities across those continents as well. I've done a bit of research in China, and I know that there's a lot there, but I think it's more 7 or 8 years down the line for me rather than anything in the next 3 years. I definitely see the rise of artificial intelligence over the next 20 years. So the kind of, and the progression in both a kind of HR and education piece from AI, so being able to predict your career and kind of utilize different sources of data to enable you to make better judgments is quite important. But then, there is the other part of artificial intelligence which might see a lot of jobs become redundant. I think we're moving, when you talk about the future of work, you talk about the future economy, the future of humanity, we have to always evolve. We are going through the third or fourth evolution, it might even be the fourth evolution at this point, where a lot of jobs are redundant. Even the most highly skilled jobs are probably the worst, where accountancy can be done like you've already now by zero, that it's just only going to improve. Lawyer, you can get so many templates online, again, it's only going to improve. Suppose stuff like, the hardcore surgeon who's going to improve, the human body is still needed, but, robots might come in to take that place. But I don't know where I sit with that. I don't think they're going to fully take that. But in terms of the traditional law, finance, high-level strategic work, and kind of the mundane jobs that exist out there, a lot of it is going to evolve. I think we are moving towards a world of gig economy and people stopping and re-evaluating how they look at education. So education being seen as a thing that is a lifelong learning experience, and not you learn something for 4 years and then you're doing it for 30 years. More of you're doing a skill top up every 4 years essentially, because we're going to have to learn as a people, as a culture, as humans to constantly evolve. I think over the last 7, 8 years, I've evolved many forms and done many different things, and I don't see that changing. So the current plans I have at the moment, I'm really excited by is the evolution of super academies. So We are currently working with a lot of strategic leadership coaches and psychology coaches to try to create our own alternative university. So essentially, I've had a lot of problems presented to me by corporates and by government these last 12 months, 18 months, that marries with a lot of my ambitions, which is the fact that apprenticeships are working in some sense, but also not working in other senses. We have the traditional education model having many, many flaws within it, and the price is just going obscenely high. But some universities wanting to kind of do more to improve their graduation and employment rates. So I sense a need from both young people and now corporates and councils to kind of create environments and bespoke syllabuses and frameworks that really get the young talent ready for the world of work. So the idea for us is to create a new age school that is half predicated on online learning, but very, very heavily predicated on project-based learning. So creating co-created environments with corporates, with councils, with local space holders, where the classroom is a studio, the classroom is a live amphitheatre, the classroom is a live venue, and your creatives and your students who take part in these courses are actually doing live projects that accelerate them into industry. And at the end of these journeys, they kind of have been exposed to over 20 to 30 to 40 firms who are there to work with them straight away, depending on the relationship built. So I want to look at education as a progressive route into employment, but done together. And there are some people doing it around the world. And I think tuition fee should be eradicated essentially. So you get the employers to pay for the expert training and to contribute towards the syllabus of what they're really looking for. And then you get government to subsidise your expansion if you need to go into other spaces once you test and learn. So we're opening our first campus in January 2018, and we're doing a couple of pilots this year. And that's like the thing that I'm probably going to do for the rest of my life in terms of education. But I've got a couple of side hustles which are exciting. You can just Google me, Bejay, and it'll come up. But the notion of building the future academy, the future university, where there is no tuition fees, where there is a guaranteed job at the end of it, if you're good enough and you only pay us back once you're earning over £30,000, and you only pay us once that's finished, once you've got 3 years for 30,000 plus, that feels like a good exchange. If we can skill you up to a certain level where you're earning, enough, a real amount to live in London, then that's when we should take our fee back. But that fee shouldn't be extraordinary either. And I'm not talking about charging big firms a lot of money either. But that's the big idea I have that I'm working on putting in the world. In addition to the idea, I believe the certification of the work that the young people learn or our learners learn through working with us would definitely kind of sit within the ledger that's available via the blockchain, that can be accessible to many people and not manipulated as you get with some other certification. And that's really a powerful thing, because you can have people doing it around the world and taking it on with them as they go on and on and on with their careers.